So give yourselves a woo. Woo! Oh, y'all are good. But you gotta get the hands going too. So okay, will you do it again? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Woo!
All right, good morning. Hi, Lisa.
Let's see if I can get centered here.
I know that's always the thing, to like a little move around here, move around there. Yep. Hey, thank you so much. Lisa's the one who created that opener. So just so y'all know, she is a woman of many, many talents, and that's just
thank you.
One of them. So thank you for doing that. That makes a nice opener for the show.
So good morning, everybody.
Yeah, we're glad to have y'all. And a couple of little things. Let me go back over here to the comments. So I posted in here. Let's see if y'all can see that. I actually had posted. So I'm going to put the banner on the bottom down here. It should go. There it goes. So if you want your name to be shown, I thought it was just probably easier to put right there in the banner, as well as I had put it in the comments as well, but I'm not sure if it kept the comments in when I was doing my little trial or not. So y'all can see. So instead of coming, oh, see, now look at that. Somebody, a Facebook user, says, woo. So thank you for the woo. That is awesome. We would love to know who you are. So if you can get the link, so it's streamyard.com/Facebook, and it'll give you a little thing to give permission to have your name shown. And once you do it, it should stay. You shouldn't have to do that every week, from what I understand. So there we go. Yeah. And what about you, Lisa? Any bookkeeping or upkeep, whatever we call that, that we need today?
Well, this is the beginning of a new month. Do we have our raffle winner today?
Yes, we do. And I even have the wheel all made up and ready to go. I did try several times I practice it to get the wheel on the page, but so something in my computer, it won't let, so I can share the screen, but it won't let me do. There's some interference, so I'm going to have to do something else, but I have it ready to go when we're ready to do our giveaway. And we had a lot of people through the last month who were joining us, and for each week that you were on and made a comment, then your name went on. So some of you, like Kathy Weaver, have your name on there for all of the weeks, so multiple times. And I think Karen was on every week as well, and then many of you were on numerous times. So thank y'all for being with us every week in the first place, so thank you for that. And this morning, what we're going to do is we will give away 2 $10 Starbucks gift certificates. So that ought to be cool. worth coming in on. You know, anytime you can go get your little thing at Starbucks is always nice.
And today's word is rest.
Rest. Any of y'all ever feel like you need a rest?
I think chronic fatigue is a problem we all sometimes deal with. And I mean, I know some people that, and I get a little jealous because I have a friend who runs marathon. Oh, she's like, I'm so tired. I came home and ran 5 miles.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I wish I could be that way. Oh, my gosh.
But that's not me.
No, nor is it me. I know everybody probably does different things, and that would be a great question to ask y'all. You know, what are the things that you do to rest when you know that you need to regroup? Now, we kind of talked a little bit about that before when we were talking about self-care, you know, because that's all part of that way of doing that. Oh, I'm going to try that. Sorry,
that looks good.
So what are some things that you do to rest? Or maybe another question is, and you can answer whichever one you want. How do you know when you need rest? You know, do you reach a certain point where you just for me, I can go and do a lot. I'm high energy, as y'all probably know. But then all of a sudden, I can just hit the wall, and it's like I tell Bill, I'm gone. Either going to my favorite chair, and sometimes there have been a few times when at the end of the night we finish dinner, and it's like, okay, I am done, and I just go to bed early. It's like, why go to my chair and fall asleep when I can just go to bed? That doesn't happen very often, but I can just feel that what I call it's hitting the wall. So how about you? Do you have some points where you know it's time for you to take that rest? Because if we don't, that's when real health problems and stuff can come, I think.
I used to push really hard and push past when my body would tell me that I needed rest, and that's part of what ended me up in the hospital eventually. And so now I'm actually very true to myself in terms of when I need to rest. And so when I start feeling like my body's just completely drained of everything, I don't push past that anymore. I honor the fact that my body's giving me an honest message and saying, hey, you should need to rest. And one of the things I found out when you rest is that you're more efficient. So a lot of times we think pushing past is what we have to do, but now instead of pushing past, I will say go to bed early or take a nap and then get up, and I always work a lot faster. So frankly, I probably get more done now by not pushing myself over the cliff, than I did before, when I just worked by that adage of, oh, well, just work past it, girl, pull yourself together and just get everything done that you need to get done. And now the way that I deal with rest is I'm more organized, and I honor that message coming from my own body.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think it's very true because, when you get in that overtired place and you're feeling that strain on your body, if you don't rest, it takes you twice as long to do something, which is what you alluded to there too. It's like my brain gets to where I can't really think. And if I just step away, and whether, and I tell you, it's those short, little 15, 20 minutes, sit down and rest, take that moment, do great things for me. My body responds really well to that. And sometimes
you're talking about like micro napping.
Yeah, I guess that's what you call it. But yeah, I could just go and just really, I'm a real proponent of deep breathing, where you just really breathe in and that. And that helps, first of all, to relieve any of that stress or begin to. And if I just do some of that deep cleansing breaths and just relax and just unplug, truly is what it is. Unplug for that, whatever, 15, 20, even 30 minutes, whatever it takes. I find then my brain can focus again to get done what I was going to do. So like say, I've learned not to push through as much. And I think when we're younger, let's just face it, when we're younger, we can get by with more. You can push through and you can push your body harder, and your recoup time is less. But I'm just finding as I've gotten a little bit older, and not that I like to blame things on age, because I think a lot of things are blamed on age, which are just really a lie, just really a lie. Because a lot of it's just as we get older, we either not take as good a care of ourselves, or there's other things that enter into that. Besides the fact that, gosh, I'm 60 or 70 years old, whatever your magic number might be.
Speaking of old age, I saw a joke the other day that was like, it said, when I was younger, I could eat a great big couple of tacos and a whole sleeve of cookies. And then I'd wake up in the morning, I'd lost weight. And then it says, now that I'm older, if I swallow my spit, I go up a pant size. And so I have to agree that sometimes our metabolism slows down because of age, but you're right. I think we can rejuvenate ourselves, and some of that has to do with resting from other things that we don't even think about. Like one of the things that Celeste taught me was to rest from technology. And I can't say that I'm always really good at it, but I try to get off of all of my devices by 8:00. And that's a really good rest from just all the buzz and the light and the different things that are happening so I sleep better.
Mhm.
And so that's one way that you can rejuvenate your body, even when you're dealing with some of the adages of old age.
Yeah, and there's a newsletter that comes from Mayo Clinic, and this last one that just came out, Bill's been reading it because he has a really hard time sleeping. He'll go to sleep for a while, and then he wakes up every night like three in the morning, 2:30 to 3, and then he turns back on his iPad and he listens to podcasts and stuff to get him to go back to sleep again. But he hardly ever is unplugged. I mean, he goes to bed with it on, puts it back on when he wakes up in the middle of the night. And the newsletter from Mayo Clinic is talking about that. You know, really do not, what they say is don't watch TV, don't be on the computer and all of those things before you go to bed, because your brain, I guess, is still active and it's not letting you sleep.
Yep.
Which actually does make sense.
It really is true that our what's it called? I'm going to say it wrong. It's the circadian rhythm, and I said it wrong, I'm sure. But that basically it's the cycle of light that we deal with that cues some of the hormones in the brain. And so sun gazing in the morning triggers that melatonin off, and then going into the dark triggers it to come on. So if we're never in the dark and we never, up until the time we sleep, that sequence actually doesn't stop for a couple hours.
Oh,
so
wow.
So that's why your brain won't turn off when you're looking at light, especially the light that's flickering.
And I see Terry Ann, and I'm with you, Terry. That is actually, I turn on that exact same thing. Mindless TV. And I just go and I will just go to sleep. Sometimes I have to say that is my best sleep, because it's like I'm cheating. I'm just pretending. It's like, okay, this is just a little nap. And I just go in, and sometimes I get really into that deep zone. And then when I wake up, I think, I guess I should go to bed. And I sometimes ask myself, well, if I'm sleeping so good here, why should I get up? But I do. I get up and I go to bed. Usually I can go right back to sleep.
I used to use TV, but now I either will put, because we have on our phones, we have the ability to listen to things. So I'll put an audio book or audio scriptures on, and I'll listen to that and kind of fade out. Or the other thing that you can do is you can read, listen to music. Those are things that will help the brain not get into that, will help the brain relax enough to go to sleep deeply. So.
Yeah. So there's another level of rest. So we're really talking about that physical, being tired, being on the computers too much, working too hard or too long, whatever that looks like for you. But there's that other, don't you find there's other types of fatigue? There's the mental and the emotional and just the weariness that kind of is that combination of all of it. And I love the scripture, Matthew 11:28. And I'm going to actually, because I always like to actually read them rather than trusting my mind to remember. All you who labor and are heavy laden, come to me. It starts out, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And I love that, because I think there's, when there's those times, and I think there was a lot of that during these last 2 years, where just the weariness of what's going on in the world, the whole political agendas, all of the not being able to go out, not being able to see people, it's so exciting now that we are out. I was talking to a gal yesterday and telling her that we did our live 1-minute training on Saturday. And she said, you mean you got together in person? And I said, yeah, it was wonderful. And she said, I haven't gone out to anything in person yet. I said, oh man, do that as soon as you can, because there is a difference, and it's wonderful. Like we've had our lunches, and it's just so great to be back physically with people in person again. But the kind of things we've been going through, I think, is a deeper weariness inside could be but you feel just inside your heart and your soul. And that's the kind of rest we definitely, we can take all of our everything to Jesus. But when we are at that point, when you're feeling that heavy laden, that's when Jesus says, come to me. You know, don't go out there and just keep trying to work through it. Don't go out there reaching out to everybody else in the world. How about come to me and I will give you rest? And the rest that Jesus gives is, of course, the best rest there is.
Yeah, and you know, I love the scripture that you brought up. And as women, I think we feel guilty about ever resting. I'm not really quite sure what programmed that into us. Maybe it was our mothers who were constantly doing all the time. That's what my mom did. She just was always doing for somebody somewhere, which is, I mean, she's a blessed lady. But the thing is that somewhere along the line, you know, you inherit that I'm resting, I feel guilty for resting. And, you know, one of the principles of that scripture is that we can put our burdens on God. And, you know, have you heard about how a yoke works on the oxen team? Have you?
A little bit, but why don't you tell us?
Well, so one of the physical dynamics of the yoke over the two oxen is that the stronger ox always carries the heavier burden. And I always thought it was kind of interesting that the Lord says, take upon you my yoke, which meant, you know, we're going to share your burden together. And, you know, instead of feeling guilty about him carrying the heavier part, just realize that's the whole design of that mechanism. And so that must be that's his design as well, is that we're supposed to lean on him. And I think what you were saying mentally, it's really hard to rest mentally unless we give that over to something else, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the rest of that verse, as Lisa's talking about, I only read the first part, but after that, he says, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. And isn't that where we really want that? For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So that is really a beautiful yoke, beautiful verse. And as you were saying, Lisa, it teaches us about that.
Yeah, it's really incredible because, you know, you always, like I said, you feel guilty putting any burden on anybody else. And yet, you know, at the same time, we get rest by also letting people serve us. And so that's
another one of those hard things as women, right?
Is it? Yes, it is. So it's just something that we can look at in all kinds of areas. Anybody have any ideas about rest that they'd like to share with the audience or with us that we could talk about? Please put it in the comments and we'll join you into the conversation. But so how do you rest other than just taking mini naps? What do you do for resting?
I do more resting now. So I'm going to go back to what you said. I've given myself permission. You know, I have to do these mental games with myself. And so I think around sometime in my mid 40s, I finally realized that I didn't have to do everything and that it was okay to rest. And I found I'm just so much more productive that way. The other one is, as Terry Ann was saying, I think, she was the one that said she gets in front of mindless TV. And that's pretty much what Hallmark movies are, or just some other thing like that. To rest, to relax, or to tune out of everything else. And even though it is still something that's plugged in and on, I can just release my mind and just kind of let it fade out. So then when I'm ready to do something else, I can be more focused. So really the watching of a movie or regular TV, not so much, but just putting on like the Hallmark movie can help my brain to just really relax. And then Bill and I have realized that we don't do as well taking long vacations. And I learned this at Mary Kay, that if we just go several times a year, away for 3 days. It does
Yeah.
so much to just kind of rejuvenate us. But, whenever it was a month ago or so, when we just went over to Newport, for 3 days, we totally unplugged, got to walk on the beach, and I was ready to come back and just jump back in again. But for us, we'll do a week long, maybe, I don't know, maybe every couple of years, but I don't need a long 7-day, 10-day vacation as much as just those short little ones, Go up, talking to somebody last night, they have a place up in Utah that they like to go. And so they go up there, a couple of times a year, just to, again, change of scenery, something just to totally unplug and rest.
Yeah.
What about you?
I was going to go into the business side of things because one of the things and this is hard for me too as a business owner, is to delegate, to take a moment to hire some people and get them trained and delegate, so that I can kind of rest that part of the burden of the business on those shoulders. When I was in the wealth management, we were doing investment into companies. One of the things that was different between male companies and female companies, and of course this is not statistically, scientifically proven, this is my observation of certain circumstances, but I bet you could find data to back this up. The men who would come in with a company that was growing always had more people in place than they probably needed to grow. And then the companies that were women always had just basically them and maybe one other person, and we were like, okay, you need to bring on this much staff in order for us to add, an infusion into your company of capital. And it was the hardest thing for those people. Oh, I'm fine, I can do it, I'll keep this up. But they didn't realize that they would get the burnout. And, by not delegating your responsibilities. And for me, my problem is nobody will take as much time to do what I'm doing, how I do it, or how I want it to be done. But I have to let go of things in order to rest. I have to let go of that kind of illusion of control, because I'm not necessarily better than the other person. I'm just feeling like that's how I need it to be. And so it's like I draw it in close and it's like my baby. But you got to let go of those little kind of babies so that you can handle taking on bigger projects. You can't grow without kind of letting things go.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really true. And it's that whole beginning part of the training people. I recall numerous times where I tried to actually bring somebody into my office to work a couple of days a week. And by the time I explained to them what to do, I could have already done it twice, but you have to kind of go through that adjustment period so that then they can, because they have to learn the way that you want it. And it is hard. It's a hard transition to do that. And I think as entrepreneurs, now there are so many, there's virtual assistants out there. There's people who are really good at what they do. It just might take, the truth is, it might take 2 or 3 or 4 people that you hire on short time things, part-time, to do the things that you're trying to do all together. For instance, the website, somebody, somebody who's really good at websites can help keep your website updated. Somebody else. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on my 3rd virtual assistant trying to train them. And so I think that this one will be a good one. I went through a completely different avenue, but you have to give yourself that time to train them. But you also have to say, okay, this is an investment of time so I can rest too.
Right. Knowing that you're looking towards that outcome, because I don't think we can go as far as possible. I don't think we can reach our greatest potential if we don't bring other people along. Just exactly what you're saying. We need a team. And ladies, for those of you who are out there and do not have a housekeeper and you're working at least half-time or part-time or full-time, look at that. That's one of the first places where you can really find a great release of your time and from your mental head space. We taught this a lot in Mary Kay because that seemed to be the hardest thing, because you're working from home, right? And as most of us are, especially, after the whole pandemic thing, most everybody is still working from home, and the house can get away from you. And every time you walk through and you're doing this mental thing, oh, I need to mop the floor. Gee, I really need to vacuum this thing. And I'm just telling you, if you hire somebody to, even if they come in twice a month, I'm not saying they have to come in every week. And right now, that's what I have. I've had people, but in the past, when I was really, the kids were around and stuff, and I've had people come in, the once a week thing. Now, between Bill and I, it's usually every 2 weeks. Sometimes it's every 3, because it's just he and I, and mostly it's the whole dusting thing. But I can release that when I walk through, because, Martha's going to come next Thursday or on Tuesday. So I can just let that, release it from my brain, because a lot of that is just what grabs our brain and it causes unrest, does in me. So the things that are your triggers. So what are your triggers, and how can you delegate that to somebody else? Whether it's hire somebody or have your kids help you. You don't have to do everything, Mom.
Grace says you also have to get rid of the perfection syndrome, as you aren't perfect, so you can't expect your VA to be true. And I have that problem. And it is one of those things that I am learning to let go, because being the graphic artist, and that's where my little, pet peeves are. I get into the nitty gritty. It's like, oh, this over, and then I have to tell myself, is that one little quarter of an inch moving that over really going to change how the impact of my business is going to be? And it's like, no, and that is not going to change anything. So.
Yeah, it is. And I see, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say you have to use the Pareto law, the 20-80.
Oh, right,
80,
right.
20.
And that whole perfectionist thing does you more harm than anything. That's something, if you've got that kind of issue, y'all, in whatever places, most of us have it in one or two areas. Hopefully you don't have it in everything, because then you are really holding yourself back. Because you will never accomplish anything as long as you're waiting for it all to be perfect, because it never will be, because we are not, right? So the more you can begin to release some of that, it really will help you. I say, and I'm sure it's Emma Lou who said Utah is a great place to go rest. Our mountains are so beautiful. So for some reason, it's not showing your name today, because I know it has, and I think you're the only one that I know that's in Utah. Also, someone's on the other page. And so here's a good question for her. What page are you watching this from? Are you on Fun Fearless, my personal page, or the speaker page? Because that'll help us too, because I noticed that the comments do show up differently. So do y'all mind just real quickly putting that in? And then I guess we're just about here at the top of the hour. We could go do our wheel and see who's going to be our winners. Also, if it's just showing you as a Facebook user, I need to know for sure who it is, so I can start our participation list for June. So, like I said, I'm quite sure that's Emma Lou on the one, but the other one, I don't know who that is. Let's see. Oh, FFF. Okay. And did you click the link to join the one that was a Streamyard.com /Facebook? Because it would be nice. So what is your name, person who just put that up there, so we can see who you are? All right. And okay, so I'm going to commit that if it's possible, if it's technically possible, for me to get the wheel on StreamYard here. Like I said, it's something in my computer. It was telling me it was blocking, and I didn't know how to do it. So I've got to reach out to somebody who knows more than me, technically, and that's just about everybody. So, But I will go into the wheel and we will click it and see who is going to be the first winner of our Starbucks gift card. So shall we do that now, Lisa? You think it's a good time?
Sure. Let's do it.
All right. So here, and I don't know, y'all might even be able to hear the click. I don't know if you. So I have all your names on here.
Yep, we can hear that.
Ah, Karen Reyes Hagen. Can you hear it? Okay, so Karen is our first winner. There we go. All right, and number 2, here we go again. This is the coolest thing. I can't wait for y'all to see it. If you've been on HMP, you've probably seen it with Kathy or somebody. All right, and our third, how about if I go, is Michelle Cruz. So yay, Karen and Michelle. So thank y'all for being on every week. We so appreciate it. And I don't know if Michelle's on today, but I'm pretty sure Karen is on here. If she's not, it's the first week she's missed a month. There she is. Hey, Karen, you're a winner. Woohoo. All right. Did we have any more comments of what page are y'all watching this from? So Karen and somebody early has said that they know they need rest when they feel their blood sugar level drop. That will definitely do it to you. And checking down, I want to make sure I said hi to everybody that's out there. Yeah, all right, cool. So when we need the rest, we want to. Well, I think one of the things that we talked about to remind you is that when you know you need your rest, if you can anticipate it before you get too far down the road, before you get too weary or too stressed out or too tired, is to anticipate it and allow yourself to take whatever it is for you, the rest. Unlike Lisa's friend, I can't even imagine that going out and running would be a way to rest. But I know people who are into that. My sister, the best thing she can do for herself is to go take a walk. She says, I can handle the world. If I could get out for 30 minutes a day and just walk, she says, I can handle just about anything. It's that important to her. So, any last minute comments or thoughts, Lisa?
Yeah, I'd like to challenge the viewers to find a time this week and really do some resting, whether it be mentally or physically or from your family, or even if you have to hide in a closet and read a book there or something like that. But actually, speaking of that type of thing, you go into a room and you're trying to be by yourself. And when you had little kids, do you remember the little hands under the door? Hey, mommy, where are you? What are you doing? But anyway, so it is sometimes hard as a parent to rest. And yes, Karen, I agree with you. Read the Psalms and your scriptures and things like that to rest. Sometimes just meditating for me, like I said, I meditate in the morning for just a few minutes out with my chickens, and that's a lot of fun for me. That's even just a 3-minute thing for me. And but I challenge you, find a place, find a time, and seriously do some self-care for yourself, because you'll find that you'll work more efficiently, you'll be more together and happier.
Absolutely. Alicia, y'all hear me talk about Alicia all the time because I talk to her almost every day. So she reminds me of what it was like to be a mom with young children. She's got Henry, who's 4. Well, Kyle, her husband, the 2 teenagers, and Henry have been sick for like the last 2 weeks. Henry has like a double ear infection, been to the doctor a couple times, the girls. And then she started coming down with this head cold thing. And she calls me and she says, Mom, I never realized that moms never get a break. She said, they're all sick, but I have to keep doing.
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth? You know, as women, as
It
moms,
is.
you know, we're the ones. And so when you're in that kind of situation, when everybody in the house is sick, it's going to be hard to find that even 10 minutes. So I really admire her because I'm not a 5 o'clock kind of gal. That is not my favorite time. I don't think the world should be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. If it's not light outside, we don't need to be awake. That's just for me. But she really strives to get up every morning at 5 so she can have at least 20 to 30 minutes all to herself before the household gets away. Kyle doesn't get up before that. And so she'll read and she'll just drink her coffee. And she says, man, that's the only way she can get her sanity before the day starts. And so, you know, whatever yours might be early in the morning to take the test. I know, Lisa, you go outside.
Mine was always late at night. I always stayed up past, and this isn't a healthy habit, but it was always to stay up way late. And then, because that was when it got quiet.
Me too. It's like after the kids went to bed and stuff was when I finally could just do that when they were young. Now that I don't have that dynamic in the house, I still kind of do the evenings, but my Bible reading in the morning is when I enjoy it best. So when I do early morning things like this morning, I didn't, but if I can do it right when I first wake up to set the day, it's that time that's doing several things at once. It's resting, it's focusing your mind. If you have particular readings, if you read scripture, pray, meditate, whatever you do, if you can do that in the morning, it really sets a nice tone for your day. And I think it kind of helps us go through the day. But when you find yourself in the middle of the day and maybe it's been a hard morning and whatever that looks like, give yourself permission to take that little break. It's okay. The world is going to still be turning. It's not going to open up and swallow you in because you sat down and took a 15-minute rest. It's all okay.
Definitely.
So, well, thank you guys. I think we probably better wrap it up here. And I'm so always appreciative and excited to have y'all join us. Congratulations to Karen and Michelle for being our winners. I'll send those to you in the digital format. And I guess that's kind of where we are here. So I appreciate you very much. And go out and make it a great week because it is your choice. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Have a good week.